What's going on, everybody? Kevin here, back again with another video on the 6th Streets YouTube channel. As you see, a little bit of unexpected work going on here. You see we have our intercooler pipe removed right now. Our intake for the turbos over there. All this just because I noticed last night I had a really awful smell coming from the exhaust manifold. Well, the side of the exhaust manifold you would smell right by this tire, and it just smelled freaking terrible, and it was all coming in the cabin. So I decided to give it a look, see if the crack on the manifold got any worse, and it has not gotten worse, although I will definitely be ordering the manifold very soon for this car. The crack wasn't our issue. Our issue was an oil leak from the return of the turbo, which I don't know if the GoPro will pick it up, especially with the strut bar in the way, but it's from the return of the turbo, and there's a lot of threads left on the bolt, so I don't know if it's just backing out or if we have a gasket going bad. We're gonna check that out actually, and if it's not a bolt, then I guess it's a bad gasket. I'm gonna have to put it down for a while. All you guys have missed so far of what I've done is literally just taking off clamps, really. That's about it. So it's pretty boring stuff that you guys have missed. Nothing doing really. So now you're just gonna see me finishing up with all this, and hopefully it is a loose bolt. If it's not a loose bolt, then I guess I'm not gonna have a running car for tonight's meet, which was actually gonna be a good one. But oh well, it is what it is. We gotta make sure this thing's healthy first before worrying about where the hell we can go with it. So I'm willing to take some off days if it means an actually healthy Supra, you know. And we got our housing off. As you see, this was extremely loose, literally hand tight. So we got a problem there. We got to tighten that up, and then we'll be fine. So I've actually decided, now that I'm already here, we're gonna take off this manifold. Actually, we're gonna take off the manifold and try to weld up the crack that we have in it, just to give us a little bit more time while we get our other manifold and the wastegate and all the piping to redo exhaust and everything else we would need. So we're just gonna patch fix this for now, and well, it would be cool to do a little video comparing spool before and after the welding. There we go. There we go. Put it on the housing. Turbo out. Damn, it's a big boy. Smells like hella oil in here. Well, of course, it's probably because of that leak that we had. They've been soaked in PB Blaster for a full night, so it should be easier to break them loose. But we even had to break, oh my god, we even had to break out a 1/2 inch for them. That's one. Two. So everything is loose pretty much up until wherever we can, which is everything gone except one nut here and one nut here, because they started coming out with the stud. That's about all that's left, but now we just gotta kind of pry the manifold loose because it is on there real good. There's no jarring that loose right now, so we gotta figure something out.
One eternity later.
So an eternity later, I'm finally back to it with this car. As you see, the manifold almost out, and well, we only have one of the upper studs left to take out, which I'll take out after I get the manifold off, because that one was being a little bit of a pain since it had broken. So it's not really as easy to do as I thought it was going to be. But we're gonna have to disconnect motor mounts anyway, which you can't really see the driver's side motor mount through all this, but we're gonna have to disconnect the motor mounts and just raise the engine up a little bit so that we get easy access to removing the manifold, because I'm not sure if the GoPro can pick it up, but the wastegate provision is very tight to the chassis, which is the only real problem that we ran into doing this. Because as you see, it clears the body decently. If that wastegate provision was positioned a little bit differently, then we wouldn't be having this issue, but here we are. With that being said, we have to loosen motor mounts anyway, so I had bought some polyurethane motor mounts from Drift Motion and also a transmission mount. And since we were getting poly motor mounts because we had to disconnect them anyway, really have to put that trim on, is driving me nuts. Once it gets running, I'm gonna see if there's a body shop that can take care of it, because it's kind of like RTV'd on there. The clips were quite literally stuck onto the car pretty much, and so was the trim. But anyway, since we were going to be disconnecting the motor mounts anyway, and figured we were going to change them to polyurethane, I went ahead and, well, while I didn't know this thing already had a polyurethane trans mount, I went and bought a new one from Energy Suspension. The motor mounts are also Energy Suspension. Bought them off Drift Motion. The only drawback to this really is that I bought a poly trans mount without really knowing the car already had one. It came with it, actually. So as you'll see, the holes were already drilled into it. I knew something was up when I got under the car to take this out, and I saw that, and it looked almost identical to what I needed. But I mean, yeah, it sucks that I kind of wasted in the sense that I didn't necessarily need it 100%. But having new motor and trans mounts, I guess, is more peace of mind. So we're gonna go ahead and put this new one on the car anyway. And well, it's a pretty simple process to install. That's what we're gonna be doing right now. And then tomorrow we will be getting to the motor mounts. Now, as to why something very simple with this manifold and turbo setup that seemed like it would have taken all of maybe 1 or 2 weeks, maybe less if everything was done day by day by day, and why it's been dragged out, between thinking I was going to replace the manifold and then school really picked up in October. The car just kind of got put on the back burner, and then the Prelude over there also had given me a handful of problems that are already taken care of, as well as just basic maintenance being done to that car. But everything just kind of piled up, and well, here we are with the car still taken apart after, well, over a month. So sucks, but nice to be back to it, and we'll get this done real soon. Now, this mount was mounted up with the nut on the underside with the washer, and it lacked this plate here, and with the shallower end, the bolt head being on the top side. But I guess the way this one came in, it kind of makes sense, so that it would be easier to remove if you leave the taller nuts on the top here, and the easier to reach head of the bolt on the bottom. So I guess that's how we're gonna do it instead of like this. It kind of makes more sense in my head, so that's the way we're gonna do that. And there we have at least a mock-up of our transmission mount. Should go like that. Actually, I ended up taking off the mount from the cross member. Gonna try installing it just the 4 bolts to the transmission first. It seems like it makes a little more sense than the way I was doing it earlier, so I was probably wrong on that. It's my first time having to do this anyway, so yeah, I'm bound to make mistakes on this. But yeah, let's bolt this up, and then we'll try to put the cross member on. Alright, let's tighten. Well, 14s. Last one. This is tight. Alright, time to get our cross member on. Fuck. Alright, this is gonna be a bit of a pain, but we'll figure it out. Come on, come on, come on. Nope, 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 wrong way, wrong way. Come on. Come on. Cutting myself. Cars are not infuriating or difficult in any way. It's an easy hobby. Hold on. Alright, gonna try to put the other cross member bolts on to at least help guide it. This is not falling all the time. This one. Alright, so as you guys see, we got this at least guided. Now we put our plate with at least one of these. Slide it back and forth to find it. There we go. Now let's get a washer. There we go. Get a nut. Alright, you guys can't see much of this anyway. The GoPro keeps falling. I'm gonna just cut away while I finish putting the nuts. You get the idea. We're getting our trans mount in. So yeah, I'll catch you guys when this is done. So I forgot to give an update, but yeah, our transmission's finally mounted up like normal. We don't have it jacked up anymore, and we'll brand new poly mount here. And we actually installed it a little better this time around, and everything is secure. Everything is secure. This stuff's going nowhere. So now just motor mounts and manifold, and we should have a car again and feeling even better than it did before. Alright guys, back again with the Supra. I actually ended up having to get underneath the car to loosen motor mounts. As you see, 17 holds in the stock mounts, and now we're able to jack up the motor. At first we were having problems trying to get the manifold out because this wastegate provision was crashing right here with this part of the chassis, which obviously runs all the way to the back. But right now we started lifting it, and instantly you'll notice we have it actually pointing at the bell housing, but instantly you'll notice we have more clearance right here. So this should be a little easier. I'm probably going to jack up a little bit more to get a little more room, and this manifold should pop right out. Come on. There we go. Nice. It's out. Now we just gotta get those wastegate lines off. Alright, we got one line off. I don't know how I'm gonna get that second one. Okay, that's the one. The second one. Ooh, that's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to reach the zip tie. Yeah, because this was zip tied on. They were popping off on the dyno. So, yeah. It was zip tied on, and this one was nearly impossible to take off. And the other one is being a pain too, but mostly because of its location rather than that it's actually difficult to take off the wastegate line. And since we had to loosen motor mounts to jack up the motor and get this done, I bought these polyurethane motor mounts to change them out, have them nice and fresh, and also so that we have poly in both the motor and the trans, because supposedly having a poly trans mount will kill your rubber mounts faster. At least that's what I read. So yeah, got this, and the car should feel way better afterward, and maybe won't be sagging down as much, and who knows, maybe we'll actually have good power steering now. However, I literally have no symptoms of a failing steering rack, any of the weird noises, or anything that happens when you have a pump failing, when you have a bad steering column, any of that. I don't have any symptoms other than it's a little bit hard to steer. So yeah, we're gonna see if this actually helps alleviate it a little bit, and if not, then we'll jump to the conclusion that we have a power steering problem as well.